The cold wind pushed hard against the door as Liam slowly stepped into the little gift shop, his small body soaked from the rain outside. His thin jacket clung to his back, and drops of water slid from his messy hair down onto the old wooden floor, but he didn't care about the cold. Right now, only one thing mattered. Tomorrow was his mother's birthday, and this year, for the first time, he wanted to give her something special. Not just a drawing like last year, or a paper flower. Like the year before. He wanted her to hold a real gift in her hands, something beautiful, something she could keep and remember. Liam had been saving for weeks. Every small coin he found, every tip a kind neighbor gave him for helping carry groceries, he had hidden carefully under his pillow. It wasn't much, but he had tried his best. Each coin felt like a step closer to making his mom smile. Inside the shop, the air felt warm and smelled faintly of lavender candles and polished wood. Soft music played in the background, wrapping around Liam like a gentle hug. He glanced around. Shyly, his eyes scanning the shelves filled with pretty things, shiny silver lockets, tiny glass animals, and wooden toys carved by hand. But it was a small heart-shaped music box sitting alone on a shelf that caught his eye. The wood was smooth, with delicate flowers painted on top, and when he lifted the lid, it played a soft tune that made him think of his mom humming while she cooked dinner after a long day of work. It was perfect. Without a second thought, Liam picked it up gently, holding it close as if it might break, and made his way to the counter. Behind the counter stood an elderly woman, her gray hair neatly tied back and a kind smile on her face. She watched Liam carefully place the music box in front of her, his small fingers trembling slightly as he dug into his pockets for his coins. Slowly, carefully, he placed them one by one on the counter, counting them aloud in a quiet voice that barely rose above the soft music playing in the shop. When the last coin clinked onto the glass, Liam looked up hopefully, his heart beating fast. This was it. This was the moment he had worked so hard for. He imagined his mother's tired face lighting up, her eyes shining with surprise and happiness. The shopkeeper paused, her smile fading just a little as she gently moved the coins with her finger. Then she looked at Liam with soft, sad eyes. "Sweetheart," she whispered kindly, "you're just a little short. You need $2 more." Liam's heart sank like a stone. $2 more. It might as well have been $1,000,000. He felt the warmth drain from his cheeks as he quickly searched his pockets again, pulling out only a small marble and a crumpled tissue. No more coins. His throat felt tight, and he bit his lower lip to keep it from trembling. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I thought I had enough." He looked down at the pile of coins on the counter, unable to meet the shopkeeper's eyes anymore. All the hard work, all the saving, it wasn't enough. His chest ached as he imagined going home empty-handed. He had wanted so badly to make his mom's birthday special this year. Now that dream was slipping away. Just then, the door behind him creaked open again, and a soft chime sounded as the cold wind swept into the shop. Liam didn't look up right away. He felt too embarrassed, too disappointed. But the shopkeeper's face changed, her eyes widened slightly, and a surprised smile tugged at her lips as she looked over Liam's shoulder. A tall man stepped inside, dressed simply in jeans and a dark jacket. His hair was slightly messy, and his face looked gentle but tired, as if he carried many memories. He glanced around the small shop, his eyes calm and kind, before they landed on Liam standing at the counter. For a moment, the man just watched quietly, taking in the scene. The shopkeeper whispered under her breath, "Oh my, Keanu Reeves," but Liam didn't recognize the name. To him, this was just a stranger, another adult who might not understand. He stared down at his wet shoes, his small hands gripping the edge of the counter tightly. Keanu stepped forward slowly, crouching down so he could meet Liam's eyes. There was something warm in his gaze, something that felt safe and gentle. "Hi." "There," Keanu said softly. Is that gift for your mom? Liam hesitated, then nodded quickly, blinking back tears. Her birthday is tomorrow, he whispered. Keanu smiled gently, his voice calm and caring. You must care about her a lot, he said. Liam nodded again, swallowing hard. She works 2 jobs, he said quietly. She's always so tired, but she still smiles for me. I just wanted to get her something nice. There was a long pause. Keanu's expression softened even more, as if he understood exactly what Liam meant. It was as if he had known that kind of struggle too, the kind where love keeps people going, even when life feels heavy. Keanu looked at the shopkeeper and gave a small nod. Please wrap it up for him, he said gently. The shopkeeper smiled, understanding without needing another word. She carefully wrapped the music box in soft tissue paper and placed it into a small gift bag, adding a delicate ribbon at the top. Liam's single quotes, as eyes widened, his heart pounding faster. But I don't have enough, he whispered again, unsure why this was happening. Keanu placed a kind hand on Liam's shoulder, steady and reassuring. Don't worry about that, he said softly. This one's my treat. Liam stared at him, speechless for a moment. This man, this stranger, was paying for his gift without even being asked, without hesitation. Thank you, sir, Liam whispered, his voice filled with both surprise and deep gratitude. Keanu leaned in slightly and slipped a small card into Liam's hand. It was simple and plain, but felt important somehow, heavier than just paper. When you give your mom the gift, Keanu said gently, please give her this card too, and tell her it's from a friend. Liam didn't fully understand why this kind stranger was being so nice, but he nodded quietly, holding both the gift bag and the card close to his chest. Keanu gave him a warm smile and gently ruffled his damp hair. You're a good son, he said softly. She's lucky to have you. Then, as quickly as he had come, Keanu turned and walked out of the shop, disappearing into the rain once more. The shopkeeper watched him go, shaking her head softly. What a kind soul, she murmured. Liam stood there for a long moment, holding the bag tightly, feeling warmth rise in his chest despite the rain still dripping from his hair. He didn't know who Keanu really was or why he had helped, but somehow he felt like this moment would stay with him forever. The rain continued through the evening as Liam hurried home, the cold wind pushing at his small back, but inside, his heart felt warm, lighter than it had in weeks. He clutched the small gift bag tightly in one hand, holding it close to his chest as if it might slip away if he loosened his grip. In his other hand, he held the card the stranger had given him. It felt heavier than it looked, as if it carried a secret he did not yet understand. His mind kept returning to the man in the shop, the kind eyes, the gentle voice, and the way he had spoken to him as if he truly cared. No one had ever done something like that for Liam before, not a stranger, not anyone. And though the name Keanu Reeves meant nothing to Liam, the kindness he had shown meant everything. By the time Liam reached home, his jacket was soaked through, and his fingers were cold and stiff, but he didn't care. He carefully hid the gift bag under his bed and sat on the floor, staring at the card in his hand. The paper was plain but smooth, and in neat handwriting were a few simple words. Please tell your mom I said happy birthday, from a friend. The handwriting felt calm, like the voice of the man himself. Liam smiled to himself and gently slid the card into the bag with the music box. Tomorrow would be a beautiful day. The next morning, Liam woke early, far earlier than usual. Sunlight peeked through the thin curtains, and he could hear the quiet hum of his mother moving around the kitchen, already making breakfast before heading to her first job. She was always up early, always tired but never showing it in front of him. Liam got dressed quickly and carefully brought out the gift bag, holding it behind his back as he walked into the kitchen. His mother, Emily, turned and smiled at him, wiping her hands on a towel. Good morning, sweetie, she said, her voice gentle but tired. You're up early today, Liam took a deep breath and stepped forward, pulling the gift from behind his back and holding it out to her with both hands. "Happy birthday, Mom," he whispered. Emily froze, surprise flashing across her face. She hadn't expected this. Their life had always been simple, and there was rarely extra money for gifts. Tears welled up in her eyes as she reached out slowly and took the small bag from his trembling hands. "Oh, honey," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You didn't have to." But Liam shook his head quickly. "I wanted to," he said softly. "Open it." She untied the ribbon gently, pulling out the heart-shaped music box wrapped carefully in soft paper. When she lifted the lid, the soft tune began to play, filling the kitchen with a gentle melody that made her heart ache. She closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her, and felt a tear slip down her cheek. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. How did you manage this?" Liam smiled shyly, looking down at his feet. "I saved up," he said simply. "And a nice man helped me too." Emily raised an eyebrow, curiosity mixing with her gratitude. "A nice man?" she asked softly. "Who, sweetheart?" Liam reached into the bag and pulled out the card, handing it to her carefully. "He said to give you this too," he said. "He said he's a friend." Emily frowned slightly, wiping her tears as she opened the card. When she read the neat handwriting, her breath caught in her throat. The words were simple, but something about them felt important. She looked down at her son again. "Did he say his name?" she asked gently. Liam shook his head. "The shop lady said something, but I didn't understand," he said honestly. "His name was Keanu something." Emily froze. Her heart skipped a beat. That name, it couldn't be. She had heard it before, many times in passing on the TV or in magazines. Keanu Reeves, the movie star, the kind man known for his generosity. But why would someone like that help Liam? How could this have happened? Before she could ask more questions, Liam wrapped his arms around her waist tightly, burying his face in her side. "You work so hard, Mom," he whispered. "I wanted you to have something nice, just this once." Emily hugged him back tightly, her heart aching with love and pride. "Oh, baby," she whispered, kissing the top of his head. "You are my greatest gift." But her mind kept drifting back to the mysterious man in the shop. Something about this didn't feel like a simple act of kindness. There was more here, a reason she couldn't yet see. That evening, after returning from work exhausted, but still smiling for Liam's sake, Emily sat quietly at the small kitchen table, turning the card over in her hands again and again. She felt a strange mix of gratitude and curiosity. Why would a stranger, even a famous one, help her son? Was this fate, coincidence, or something more? Just as she was about to set the card aside, she noticed something she had missed before, a small, almost hidden line written at the very bottom of the card, so faint it was easy to overlook. It read, "If you ever need a friend, I'm here." Her breath caught. It felt like an invitation. But to what? What could this possibly mean? That night, she lay awake in bed, unable to shake the thought from her mind. She was grateful for the kindness, deeply touched by her son's effort. But now a new question had settled into her heart. Who exactly was this man, and why did he care? The next morning, as Emily prepared breakfast and Liam sat quietly at the table, the sound of a car pulling up outside caught her attention. It wasn't the usual hum of her neighbor's car or the rumble of the delivery truck. This was different, smooth, quiet, almost too perfect. She moved to the window and pulled the curtain aside carefully. Parked just outside was a sleek black car, shiny and polished, standing out against the worn pavement and old houses on their street. Her heart skipped a beat as she saw a well-dressed driver step out and walk to their door, standing patiently with his hands folded in front of him. Before she could move or speak, there was a gentle knock at the door, soft but firm. Liam looked up at her, his eyes wide. "Mom," he whispered. "Do you think?" Emily swallowed hard and walked slowly to the door, her hands trembling slightly as she reached for the handle. When she opened it, the driver gave her a polite nod. "Good morning, ma'am," he said gently. "Mr. Reeves has invited you and your son to lunch today, if that's convenient for you." Emily stood frozen, speechless for a long moment. Liam peeked around her side, his eyes shining with curiosity and excitement. Something inside Emily's heart stirred. Respect, humility, kindness. She had always believed the world was a hard and lonely place, but now, this act, this invitation, it felt like the universe was showing her a different side of life. A side where strangers cared, where kindness mattered. She glanced down at Liam, who smiled up at her hopefully. And slowly, with tears in her eyes but a smile on her face, she nodded. Double quotes. "Yes," she whispered. "We'll come." The morning sun felt brighter than usual as the sleek black car sat quietly outside their small home. Liam stood by the window, his face pressed against the glass, watching the driver who waited patiently. Everything felt unreal to him. The day before, he had just wanted to buy his mother a simple gift. He had not known that a stranger's kindness would lead to this moment. Emily stood nearby, her heart still racing from the surprise. She held the music box gently in her hands, running her fingers over the smooth painted surface, listening to the soft tune it played when she opened it. The music felt like a promise, like hope wrapped in melody. She had never expected something like this. She looked at Liam, who smiled back at her, his eyes full of excitement, but also a hint of nervousness. Double quotes. "Mom," he said softly. "Do you think he's really waiting for us?" Emily nodded slowly. "Yes, sweetheart," she whispered. "I think he is." Her mind was full of questions. Why had this man, this famous man she only knew from distant headlines, shown such interest in their lives? What did he want? Was this really just a kind gesture, or was there something more? But deep down, she felt a calm she couldn't explain. Something told her this was a moment she should trust. She helped Liam into his cleanest clothes, smoothing his hair and wiping the last crumbs from his chin. Then she took a deep breath and stepped out the front door, holding his small hand tightly in hers. The driver greeted them with a warm smile and opened the car door gently. "Good morning again, ma'am," he said politely. "Are you ready?" Emily hesitated for just a moment, but then nodded. She helped Liam climb into the car first, then followed, her heart pounding. The door shut quietly behind them, closing out the sounds of their small neighborhood. Inside, the car smelled clean and expensive. The seats felt soft, unlike anything Emily had ever sat on before. Liam looked around in wonder, his eyes wide with curiosity as the car began to move smoothly through the streets. He kept glancing at his mother, as if to make sure this was really happening. She gave him a reassuring smile, but inside, her thoughts swirled. They drove for a while, leaving behind the crowded streets and small houses, heading toward the quieter part of the city. Finally, the car pulled up to a small but beautiful restaurant, tucked between tall trees. It looked peaceful and private, nothing fancy but quiet and calm. A place that felt safe. As the driver opened the door for them, Emily stepped out, still holding Liam's hand tightly. They both looked around, unsure what to expect. Then, from the far end of the garden path, he appeared, Keanu Reeves himself, walking slowly toward them with that same calm kindness in his eyes. He wore simple clothes again, nothing to show he was a famous actor, nothing loud or flashy. He moved like someone who didn't want attention, but still carried a quiet strength. When he reached them, he crouched down slightly so he could speak to Liam directly. "I'm really glad you came," he said softly, his smile warm and genuine. Liam nodded, his small face lighting up. "Thank you for inviting us," Liam said quietly. Keanu looked up at Emily, his expression gentle. "Thank you for coming," he said to her. "I know this must feel strange." Emily smiled nervously, unsure what to say. "It does," she admitted softly. "But I'm grateful." Keanu nodded as if he completely understood. "Shall we sit down?" He offered Dot inside. The restaurant was quiet, almost empty except for a few tables neatly set with white cloths and small flowers in glass vases. They were led to a table near a window, where the morning light streamed in gently. Dot as they sat. Keanu spoke kindly to the waiter, asking for simple things Liam might like: warm bread, fresh juice, and a small plate of fruit. Dot. Then he turned back to them. His gaze thoughtful but warm. "Liam told me yesterday," he began, "how hard you work and how much he wanted to give you something special. I could see in his eyes how much he loves you." Emily felt her throat tighten. She glanced at Liam, who smiled shyly, then back at Keanu. "He's my whole world," she whispered. Keanu nodded slowly, his eyes soft. "I understand that feeling," he said gently. "You know, my mother raised me alone too. We didn't have much. Sometimes not enough. But she worked so hard to give me a life worth living." His words surprised Emily. She had never known this about him. Suddenly, he didn't feel like a distant movie star anymore. He felt real, human, someone who knew the quiet struggles she faced every day. "You're doing something incredible," Keanu continued. "And I wanted to tell you that, face to face." Emily's eyes filled with tears she hadn't expected. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice shaking. "But why us? Why reach out to us?" Keanu smiled gently. "Because I could see this boy's heart is full of love. And that kind of love is rare. It deserves to be honored." Liam sat quietly, watching both of them with wide eyes, not fully understanding every word, but feeling the warmth in the air. Keanu leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the table. "I'd like to offer something," he said carefully. "Only if you're comfortable with it." Emily held her breath. "I'd like to help Liam. Help with his education. Help make sure he has the chance to dream big, to chase any dream he wants. I'd also like to offer you a job with my team. Something stable, something fair. Something that allows you both to have more time together." The words hung in the air for a long moment. Emily felt overwhelmed, unable to speak. This was more than kindness. This was a gift that could change everything. She looked down at Liam, who simply smiled up at her, trusting her completely. "Why?" Emily finally whispered. "You don't even know us." Keanu smiled again, quietly but with deep sincerity. "Because I do know what it's like," he said softly. "Because I know how hard it is to hold everything together. And because I believe in people who love with all their heart." Emily's tears finally fell, silent and soft. She reached across the table and took Liam's hand, squeezing it gently. She didn't have all the answers yet, and her life had been nothing but struggle for so long. But for the first time in years, she felt like maybe, just maybe, things could change for the better. But as this quiet, tender moment unfolded, something outside the window caught her eye. A figure standing behind the trees, holding a camera. The click of the shutter was almost silent, but unmistakable. Her heart skipped a beat. She turned quickly back to Keanu, who had also noticed. His expression remained calm, but a shadow passed through his eyes. "It seems," he said softly, "that our lunch isn't as private as we hoped." The quiet peace that had wrapped itself around their table now felt thinner, fragile, almost like it might break at any moment. Emily's fingers tightened slightly around Liam's small hand as she looked out the window again. The figure with the camera was still there, half hidden behind a tree, but clearly watching, clearly taking photos. Liam didn't fully understand what was happening, but he felt the sudden change in the air. The warmth and calm of their lunch had shifted into something else, something quieter, more cautious. Keanu Reeves remained calm, but Emily could see it in his eyes. He was thinking quickly, quietly measuring what this might mean. He offered her a gentle smile, one that seemed to say, "Don't worry. Everything will be fine," even if they both knew that things might soon get complicated. "It's okay," he said softly, his voice steady. "Let's enjoy this meal together. No matter what happens outside, this moment is still ours." Emily nodded slowly, forcing a smile for Liam's sake. She didn't want him to feel afraid or confused. She wanted this day to remain special for him, despite the eyes now watching from behind the glass dot as they continued their lunch. Keanu gently asked Liam questions about school, about his favorite books, about what he liked to do when he wasn't helping his mother. Liam answered shyly but happily, the glow returning to his face as he talked about the little things he loved: reading comic books from the library, drawing pictures of rockets, dreaming of being an astronaut one day. Emily watched them carefully, feeling both grateful and uneasy. This kind man, this stranger who had appeared in their lives so suddenly, was making her son smile in a way she hadn't seen in a long time. He was patient, listening carefully to Liam's every word, treating him with respect and kindness, as if he were speaking to an equal. It was humbling and beautiful. It made her heart ache in the best way. But outside, the camera kept clicking. When they finished their meal, Keanu stood and helped Liam with his jacket, his movements gentle and careful. As they stepped outside into the sunlight, the photographer stepped back quickly, but it was too late. Keanu had seen him clearly. He turned to Emily and Liam and crouched down slightly so he could speak to them both. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't mean for this to happen. Sometimes people pay attention to where I go and who I meet. They might write stories that aren't true, stories that could make things difficult for you." Emily's heart sank. She hadn't thought about this part of it, the part where his fame would spill over into their quiet, private lives. "What should we do?" she asked quietly. Keanu smiled gently. "Don't worry yet," he said. "I'll help. I won't leave you alone in this." He turned to the driver, who waited nearby, and spoke a few quiet words to him. The driver nodded and quickly returned to the car. "I have an idea," Keanu said to Emily and Liam. "Would you come with me? Just for a short drive. There's somewhere I'd like to show you. Somewhere private. Somewhere safe." Emily hesitated for just a moment, then looked at Liam, who nodded eagerly, his trust in Keanu complete. "Okay," she said softly. They climbed back into the black car, and soon they were moving again, this time away from the busy streets, away from the cameras, toward the edge of the city where tall trees lined the roads and large gates guarded the entrances to quiet homes. The car finally slowed as they approached a beautiful house set back from the road, hidden behind thick hedges and old oak trees. It wasn't a mansion, but it felt peaceful, warm, and inviting. When the car stopped, Keanu turned to them. "This is my home," he said gently. "I don't often invite people here, but I thought you might feel more comfortable somewhere private, away from the cameras." Emily looked around in quiet awe. It was simple but beautiful, a place full of quiet strength, much like Keanu himself. Inside, the house felt warm and lived in, filled with books and paintings, simple furniture, and soft rugs. Liam looked around wide-eyed, his face full of wonder. Keanu led them to a small sitting room with large windows that overlooked a peaceful garden. He poured tea for Emily and brought Liam a glass of fresh juice, then sat down across from them. There was a quiet pause before he spoke again. "Emily," he said softly, "I meant what I said at lunch. I'd like to help Liam and you in any way I can. I can offer support, a scholarship for his future, and a stable job for you. But I want you to know, this is your choice. I don't want you to feel pressured because of who I am or what the media might say. I only offer this because I believe you both deserve a chance for a better life." His words were humble and sincere. He didn't speak like a man used to fame and wealth. He spoke like someone who had seen struggle, who respected their strength and resilience. Emily felt overwhelmed. She had carried so much alone for so long. The bills, the long hours, the worry. She had never expected help to come from anywhere. But now here it was, offered so simply and kindly. Before she could answer, Liam spoke quietly, his voice small but clear. "Mom works so hard," he sighed. "She never asks for help, but I think she deserves it." His words brought tears to Emily's eyes. She reached out and pulled him into her arms, holding him close. Keanu watched quietly, giving them space, his expression soft and patient. Finally, Emily looked up, her voice shaking but steady. "Thank you," she whispered. I accept, not because I want anything special, but because Liam deserves every chance I can give him." Keanu smiled, his face lighting up. "Then it's settled," he said gently. "We'll figure everything out together." The moment felt peaceful and hopeful, but that peace would not last long, because while they sat in that quiet, safe room, far away from the noise of the city, the first photos had already been posted online. Someone had shared images of them together. Keanu Reeves sitting with a single mother and her child, sharing a quiet lunch. The story was already spreading. Speculation, gossip, curiosity. And far away, in the busy offices of newspapers and gossip websites, reporters were already digging into Emily's life, searching for anything they could use to turn her story into headlines. Emily did not know it yet, but her quiet life was about to be pulled into a very public storm. When Emily woke the next morning, sunlight was streaming softly through the curtains. Liam was still asleep beside her, curled up peacefully, his face relaxed and full of innocence. For a moment, she allowed herself to breathe deeply and feel calm. For the first time in years, she had felt hope, real hope, the kind that made the future seem less heavy. But as she made her way quietly to the small kitchen to start the day, her phone buzzed sharply on the table. She picked it up and froze as she saw dozens of notifications flashing on the screen. Messages from old friends, co-workers she barely spoke to anymore, and even distant relatives she hadn't heard from in years, all asking the same question. In different ways. Is this you with Keanu Reeves? Are you the woman in the photos? How do you know him? Her heart sank as she opened a news article someone had sent her. There, on the screen, was a photo taken from behind the bushes at the restaurant. A picture of her and Liam sitting at the table with Keanu, smiling gently as they talked. The headline made her stomach twist. Keanu Reeves spotted sharing lunch with mystery single mother and her son. Who is she? Emily felt a chill run through her body. This wasn't just curiosity. This was the start of something much bigger, and she wasn't ready for it. Within minutes, her phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. She let it ring, but then it rang again and again, until she finally turned it off completely. But the silence was short-lived. Soon, there was a knock at the door. When she peeked through the curtain, she saw a man in a suit holding a camera, standing on her front step. Behind him, another man waited with a notebook in his hand. Reporters. At her door. Liam wandered sleepily into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes, unaware of the storm outside. "Mom?" he whispered. "What's wrong?" Emily forced a smile, crouching down to hug him tightly. "Nothing, sweetheart," she said softly. "Everything is okay." But inside, her mind raced. She couldn't let this hurt Liam. Their quiet life had already changed more than she ever expected. This attention, this noise, it could take away the peace they had worked so hard to protect. She quickly pulled the curtains shut and took Liam's hand. "We're going to stay inside today," she said gently. "Just you and me." Liam nodded, trusting her completely, but Emily could feel her chest tightening. She needed help, and she knew exactly who to call. Later that afternoon, as the reporters outside grew bolder, knocking on windows and calling through the cracks in the door, a black car pulled up quietly to the curb. The same driver stepped out and walked calmly to her door, shielding his face from the cameras. Emily opened the door only slightly, but the driver smiled reassuringly. "Mr. Reeves asked me to come," he said gently. "He'd like to help." Emily felt a flood of relief and quickly gathered Liam's things. Within moments, they were back inside the quiet car, pulling away from the noise and the flashing cameras. Liam sat close to her, holding her hand tightly. When they arrived at Keanu's home again, he was waiting for them at the door, his expression calm but serious. "I'm so sorry," he said quietly as he welcomed them inside. "I didn't want this to happen." Emily shook her head. "It's not your fault," she said softly. "But I don't know what to do." Keanu led them to the same peaceful sitting room where they had talked before. He poured tea for Emily again, his movements steady and careful. "The media can be difficult," he admitted gently. "They like stories. Sometimes they create stories even when the truth is simple." He paused, looking directly at her. "They might dig into your past," he said softly. "They might try to twist things. I need you to be ready." Emily felt her throat tighten. Her past. There were things she wasn't proud of, times when she had struggled, made mistakes, fallen behind on bills, accepted help from strangers out of desperation. She had done everything she could to protect Liam, but she knew that the media would twist even the most innocent parts of her life to make a headline. "What should I do?" she whispered, her voice shaking. Keanu leaned forward, his gaze kind but serious. "You do nothing," he said gently. "You take care of Liam. I'll speak for you." Emily looked at him, unsure. "Why would you do this for us?" she asked. Softly. Keanu smiled faintly. "Because I know what it's like to have people judge your life without understanding it," he said. "And because I respect the love you have for your son. That kind of love is rare. It's worth protecting." His words made tears fill Emily's eyes again, but this time they were tears of gratitude and relief. As the evening came, the noise outside grew louder. News vans parked along their street, reporters knocked on neighbors' doors, and the photos of her and Liam with Keanu were everywhere online. But inside Keanu's home, there was quiet, peace, kindness. Liam curled up on the sofa with a soft blanket, falling asleep to the sound of gentle music. Emily sat nearby, her hands still trembling, but her heart calmer than before. Keanu sat quietly across from her, giving her space but reminding her, without words, that she was not alone. Later that night, as she checked her phone again, she found a message from a reporter she didn't recognize. "We know about your past," it said simply. "We'll publish everything tomorrow unless you speak to us first." Emily's heart dropped. They were threatening her now. She showed the message to Keanu without speaking. He read it carefully, then looked at her with a calm but serious expression. "You don't need to answer this," he said gently. "Tomorrow, I will speak for you. Trust me." His calm confidence made something inside her loosen, just a little. "Thank you," she whispered. I don't know what to say." Keanu smiled. Gently. "Just keep being you," he said softly. "That's enough." The next morning began quietly inside Keanu's home, but outside, the noise had grown louder than ever. News vans lined the street, reporters crowded the sidewalk, cameras pointed at the house, and rumors swirled across television and social media. Headlines blazed in bold letters, asking questions about Emily's relationship with Keanu, twisting their story into something unrecognizable. Inside, Emily sat at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a warm mug of tea she could hardly drink. Her mind raced, her chest tight with worry. She knew how quickly judgment could spread. Strangers who didn't know her or Liam were already making assumptions, filling in blanks with gossip and cruelty. She glanced over at Liam, who sat quietly near the window, watching the birds outside, unaware of the harsh words being written about his mother. He was innocent, still trusting, still carrying hope. She felt a deep ache in her heart. She had fought so hard to protect him from the ugliness of the world, and now it felt as if that ugliness was knocking directly at their door. Keanu entered the room quietly, his calm presence bringing this strange comfort. He sat across from her, leaning forward slightly. "Today," he said gently, "I will speak publicly. I want to make sure the truth is clear. And I will protect your dignity and your son's innocence." Emily swallowed hard, tears filling her eyes. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered again, even though she already knew part of the answer. Keanu's expression softened, his voice gentle but strong. "Because kindness matters," he said simply. "Because I see your strength. I see how much you love your son. And because sometimes people need reminders that behind every headline, there are real lives, real struggles, and real love." His words felt like a balm to her soul, soothing, but powerful. She nodded slowly, trusting him even though she felt so small compared to the storm outside. Later that afternoon, as the media noise reached its peak, Keanu stepped outside. The reporters fell silent, all cameras turning to him as he stood calmly at the edge of his driveway. Emily and Liam watched from a window, hearts pounding. Keanu spoke softly but clearly, his voice carrying over the crowd. "I want to speak today about kindness and respect," he began. "Yesterday, I had the privilege of meeting a mother and her son. They reminded me of what truly matters in this world: love, resilience, and humility." He paused, looking directly at the cameras. "There is no secret here," he continued. "No scandal, no story worth twisting. There is only a boy who wanted to buy a beautiful gift for his hardworking mother. I happened to witness that moment, and it touched my heart deeply." The reporters scribbled notes, some still hoping for more, but Keanu's calm honesty left them little room for speculation. "This mother works 2 jobs to care for her child," he said. "She does it with quiet dignity and strength. She has nothing to be ashamed of. I admire her. I respect her." Emily felt tears streaming down her face as she listened. Keanu's words were simple but powerful, spoken with sincerity and grace. She felt the weight on her chest loosen slightly with every sentence. "I ask all of you," Keanu continued, "to respect their privacy. They did not ask for attention. They did not seek fame. All they deserve is peace and the chance to live. There lives in dignity." He ended his statement with a gentle nod, then turned and walked quietly back inside, leaving the reporters with nothing more to chase. Inside the house, Liam ran to him immediately, wrapping his arms around Keanu's leg in a spontaneous hug. "Thank you," Liam whispered softly. Keanu knelt down, meeting Liam's eyes. "You're a brave boy," he said gently. "You love your mom so much. That love is stronger than any headline." Emily stepped forward, her heart overwhelmed. She couldn't speak right away, but when she finally found her voice, it came out as a soft whisper. "You saved us," she said, "not just from them, but from feeling invisible." Keanu smiled kindly. "You were never invisible," he said gently. "Sometimes the world just needs a reminder to see what's already beautiful." Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Instead of turning crueler, many people who heard Keanu's speech responded with kindness. Strangers online posted messages of support for Emily and Liam, praising their quiet strength and the simple, beautiful love between mother and son. Letters began to arrive at Emily's door, not from reporters, but from ordinary people who had heard their story and wanted to send encouragement. Gifts for Liam, kind notes for Emily, words of support from other single mothers who understood what she had endured. For the first time in a very long time, Emily felt less alone. Keanu kept his promise too. He helped Emily settle into a new job, stable, fair, and flexible, so she could spend more time with Liam. He arranged for a scholarship fund for Liam's education, ensuring that when the time came, Money would not stand in the way of his dreams. But more than all of that, he gave them his friendship. He would visit often, not as a movie star, but as a kind, humble friend who cared about their well-being. He shared stories from his own childhood, listened patiently when Liam excitedly told him about his drawings and books, and always treated Emily with respect and warmth. Months passed, and life began to feel peaceful again. Liam flourished at school, his confidence growing. Emily felt lighter, stronger, and full of quiet gratitude. One afternoon, as the sun set gently outside their window, Emily sat at the kitchen table while Liam practiced drawing at his side. She looked down at the music box Liam had given her. On that rainy day, the day when everything had begun, she wound it gently and listened to its soft melody filling the room. She realized that this simple gift, a music box bought with love and sacrifice, had set into motion a beautiful chain of events, and at the heart of it all was kindness. It had started with a boy's love for his mother. It had been magnified by a stranger's quiet generosity, and it had become a story of healing, hope, and friendship that neither of them would ever forget.